Welcome back, everybody. This is my 1-year update. I took delivery of my 818 kit just over a year ago, and I've been building it ever since. I've slowed down a little bit the last month or two, just been busy with other things, but I am still working on the car. I am still progressing. I did miss my 1-year target. I thought I could build an entire car in a year. That has proven to be more difficult than I expected. I'm aiming for next spring to have the car more or less completed, at least able to register it and have it street legal. So, lots of things still to do. I still have all winter to work on it. No need to try and rush it and get it done the next month because I live in Michigan and I'm not gonna be driving this car through snow and cold, so. I'm excited to get the fenders and the front bumper back on after I lined them with truck bed liner on the inside. But I'm waiting to do that because I'm still working on the doors, and all the mounting spots here and here are kind of hidden by the fender. I have to squeeze my hand between the wheel and the fender to get to it. So until I'm done with that, I don't want to block those mounting locations. So on the driver door, I'm starting to work on the interior panel, and I actually have the optional vinyl padded interior panel. I think it looks a little nicer than just the hard plastic. So it actually looks pretty nice, nicer than I expected. And I'm still working on fitting it and trimming it, getting it to work inside of the door. It took about a month, but I finally got my passenger door frame in from Factory 5. They sent me a replacement. Their guess was that my issue with the passenger door frame that I currently have on the car might be slightly warped, which is why my window is hitting this back mount for the roller wheel. So they sent me another one, said to try it out, see if it helps improve the clearance and gets that window to seal correctly on the passenger door frame. I took the rear firewall off so I could add some more sound dampening and insulation behind there. If you remember, I had this black firewall, which is a very thin gauge steel, and it was kind of tinny, so I wanted to add some Noiko mat, kind of like Dynamat, to the inside of that so it wasn't vibrating or making weird noises. And that's sandwiched between the black firewall and this silver firewall right here. I got the back of the hardtop mounted down. I'm using these 1.5-inch quick latches again. I needed 4 to get this entire seam to sit flush. So up here at the front of the hardtop, I have this Factory 5 bracket, which holds it down inside there. This is the seam I'm trying to hold flush with these quick latches. So I have one here, kind of above the rear wheel, and the one at the very end where this was, without the button, this sticks up, a couple inches. It sticks up quite a bit, so you need something to hold it down. And I did it on both sides. They're symmetrical. When I was doing the middle one right here over the wheels, there's a different range that each button could work in. So I was going around, and basically what I did was I did this back one first and noticed how bowed this area was. This is still sticking up a fair amount. So I took my finger and I was pushing down at different spots to see where I could push down and make it flush over here and flush back here. It's kind of a balancing act. So I found a range. Let's say it was, 15 inches from this corner, 15 inches up here to 20 inches. I could push down and get a nice seam nice flush seam along the whole edge. I marked that. And I did the same thing on the other side, and that one might have been like 13 to 18 inches. Again, from the back edge. Just like, what range could I push down and satisfy the whole seam? So once I had both ranges, I found a spot that overlapped, and for me it was 18 inches was a good middle spot. So from here to here is 18 inches for me, and that's where I placed my button on both sides, so it could be symmetrical and make that seam nice and flush the whole way down on both sides. I had to make my own brackets to secure the stud for the quick latches. So I made one back there for the back corner. Here's the passenger side above the rear wheel. There's the wheel. So I had to make my own brackets out of some aluminum tubing. Not too difficult. In the back, I actually decided only to mount to the fender. So I did not have the metal piece that holds this down touch here and their back bumper. This back bumper is independent, so I can try to fill this gap later. This is the gap I'm left with after making everything work with the doors and the fenders. So eventually I'll need to pull this seam in more, or maybe have a professional body shop fill this gap for me and clean it up a little bit. It is a pretty significant gap. Not the worst, but definitely noticeable. And I think the quick latches look pretty good. It's not as clean as just having everything mounted underneath the body. But I think it's way better than having two massive chrome hood pins on each side for the back hardtop. So I think it's a large improvement. They're about $25 a piece. I'm gonna use two more of these on the front hood when I put that on, and those will, I believe, mount here. I'll do one on the driver's side back here, one on the passenger side back here, and then if you remember, I'm doing the hood hinge at the front, so the whole hood will clamshell open. Since I was crawling around in the car to add the insulation behind the rear firewall, and I'm coming up on putting the seats in to measure out where I put my seat belts, I've decided to go with a standard 3-point seat belt you find in normal cars. It just seems easier and cheaper, so I'm going to go along with that and not do racing harnesses. I went ahead and removed the steering wheel. It's really big, it makes getting the seat in difficult, and this just leaves me more space so I can crouch and crawl inside the car to do everything. So I went ahead and removed the steering wheel. I'm looking at getting a racing steering wheel with a quick disconnect. It should be smaller, which makes it easier to get in and out of the car, and the quick disconnect will make it even easier if it's a problem. I'm still doing a little bit of research on how to make the horn and blinker cancellation when turning work with an aftermarket steering wheel. It seems like there's a couple of hubs or adapters that retain all the Subaru stock functions like that, but I just want to make sure I get everything to work. So I do want a horn, and I want the blinker to turn off when I'm done turning. So there is a little piece that cancels that on the stock steering wheel, and I'll make sure that works with the aftermarket one too.